Amanda's like, it's working perfect.
Great.
And I'm like, great. Then 10 minutes later, oh, your compressor's overloaded. And I'm like, compressor's overloaded. What does that mean? Oh, it's going to be about $6,000 for a new compressor.
So we need this video to do really well to pay for Jared's new air conditioner.
Listen, I got to keep cool.
You almost made it through another summer in Nashville. Dude, I've replaced 2 ACs since I've lived here. I don't know if it's some sort of game with the industry where
What is
they
that
called planned obsolescence. Where
Don't get me started, bro.
Steve Morse is coming on.
Oh my goodness.
And actually, the funny thing is, Jared, you're not going to be in this episode other than right now.
Don't hate me for it.
This
where
happens,
am I going to be?
This happens from time to time.
Oh my gosh, yes. So this is the thing. This is what I love about Tyler. The show must go on. So I am actually going to be in Montana with Paul Gilbert playing a show, which is super cool.
A lot of different questions we have for Steve. Jared's going to field some of them just to make it feel like we're all connected.
Yeah, the dude has played with like Kansas, Purple, the Dixie Dregs. He's an insane guitar player. He's also a pilot. And then I also read that he is like a prominent concert reviewer out of Boston. He's a virtuoso, and there's so many cool things about his playing that you don't find in a lot of other players.
On the No Cover Charge podcast, we get into all of those dirty details and so much more. Without further ado, Steve Morse. What was that thing you were doing with the tone knob? Weren't you doing like a wah effect with the tone?
Yeah.
How would you do that? You do it at the same time?
Turn it off and then hit the note and then turn it on. So. Something I do also in Purple is when I hit a power chord, I would hit it like full.
Wow.
Then roll off the high end so that you still hear the chord going, but when the vocals start, I would take the high end off so then it doesn't interfere with the vocals so much, and there's less chance of me being cut out of the mix. And then editing, you can make it either way you want.
Right. I have full control, actually. I could do anything right now. There could be like, I don't know, a bass in the frame, which would be devastating.
I'm more of a dad joke guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know,
Okay, well,
just a little joshing.
The one that I tell my stepdaughter is, now Shawnee she's in her 30s, but she had a brain hemorrhage twice that resulted in her having permanent brain damage. So she's like about a 9 or 10-year-old for the rest of her life in abilities, but she has the best sense of humor of anybody in my family. She's the only one that laughs at my jokes. How many guitarists does it take to screw in a light bulb? It takes on 100. One to actually do it and 99 to say they could have done it better.
Yeah, they could have screwed it faster, could have screwed it slower, could have screwed it with a little bit more feel, you know?
You added some good touches to that.
Yeah, man. That's my wheelhouse, is fusing entertainment and education, which is kind of the spirit of playing guitar. We're learning,
Yes.
but we're having fun.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
I like your vibe very much. Van is our joke guy. Back in the day when the movie came out, The Shining, and the little kid was going, red rum.
Red rum.
Yeah, I was reading Murder backwards.
Yeah.
And so we were on tour back in the day, and all in the same rental car. He said, "Where are we playing?" It's a few miles from here. First, we got to go by the hotel. And I pull up to the motel. It was Red Roof Inn. Red Roof. I'm not a good joke teller, but he is. He does the voices. My son Kevin does. He can do accents incredibly well. He somehow he speaks some Greek and really good Spanish, but he's born in America. but he is half Greek, Turkish, and half me. He loves accents, and when he tells a story, he can really deliver it. I just never had that, you know. I've just stuck with the dad jokes, and that's about as far as I developed.
Do you feel like there are some accents on guitar, though?
Yes, exactly.
Because it's not like necessarily the same thing. I've always tried to figure out how to explain the different playing styles and the different feels. You know, English, which is what we're speaking, so you have like a southern accent for twang. You could go on to describe them, but I don't know if that's fully realized. It's kind of like a half-baked analogy, but we're getting on to something.
People tend to generalize. If you drive past a bar and there's a bunch of Harleys and guys, you know, with chains on their belts and cut off leather jackets with insignias, you might think it's a biker bar because you're getting those cues. And same thing like you were talking about, a country tune. As long as you throw in this and throw in that, you know, you can give the impression that it's in that genre. Same thing with jazz. You would adopt a certain tone if you were trying to convince somebody you were a jazz guitar player, and you would, you know, use different voicings of chords instead of, you might be, I still got some distorted. Both genres are playing an A.
This move right here, that's saying y'all. But just because you say y'all doesn't make you Southern. So, like, that's what I'm getting to, is we have this language and we pick up little pieces of them along the way that are different. And some people are really good at speaking in a certain way. Would you say that you have a specific avenue that you started with? Because I know we'll go through a little bit of your history as we talk, but the Dixie Dregs style music is so different than even Deep Purple or Steve Morse Band.
When I heard Switched on Bach as a young teenager, I was already into rock and roll, and you know, Hendrix, and we had all the bands of the, you know, the psychedelic era happening. But when I heard Switched on Bach, that was a whole new thing. It was like, wait a second, these guys are not jamming on one chord. And I dug deeper in the music, and I heard the Brandenburg Concerto done on synthesizer, where it appealed to my, you know, just immediate and incredible sounds, all done one at a time, painstakingly by Wendy Carlos. And then I dug deeper. He does sacred works, he does these chorales, these cantatas, wrote song books for people to learn to play cello, violin, viola, whatever it was. And I would find these pieces of music, and you know, I wasn't a great reader, you know, starting out, and just figured this out and said, this is good on every level. The further I go, I need to be a writer like this, you know, be a composer.
Yeah.
So I went from a guy that played in a, you know, in cover band to thinking, I want to do something that's intense, it's orchestral, at very least like a chamber music ensemble. And so I described the Dregs as electric chamber music, you know. And everything I wrote was trying to tell a story, but keep it succinct enough to keep the audience. So we had a lot of gigs where, you know, we were playing for nothing outside. One of the things I noticed, you know, I made these arrangements for the group, and as we're playing, I'm watching people walk by. What makes them stop and listen, and what makes them walk away?
Oh,
well,
nice.
Long violin or guitar solos make them walk away. But the melodies and the change-ups and getting back to a basic riff and heading away from it, that kept them there. So that's something that stayed with me forever.
Yeah.
That's across any style. That seemed to work. And you know, when we did the sort of tongue-in-cheek bluegrass stuff, you know, happy but with little quirky extra things thrown in. And Aaron Copland was one of my big influences. One of the tunes we had early in Dregs was called Modown, because obviously a takeoff of the title Hoedown. Mm-hmm. And the music doesn't sound like Hoedown, but it's in the same vibe of trying to do something that has stops and starts and some quirks, and then back to a, you know, somewhat predictable, danceable melody. Trying to think more like a composer than a guy playing, here's your rhythm part, take a lead now, then get back to the vocals. You know, I ended up doing that more or less with Kansas and Deep Purple, for some parts of the songs, but I was always the force. Like, you know, the water's always trying to get in on a rainy day to get in your house, and you have to.
Yes.
And bands are always trying to keep me from doing my thing, which was to write instrumental sections for their songs.
That is the great struggle of every guitar nerd, is like fighting their bandmates, and that's why a lot of us go solo. You know, we're just like, you know what, my guitar solos will exist with or without you guys. But but it's also what creates some of the greatest music, is you pushing on the ceiling, punching to get out, and then keeping that down.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
You need consensus with a group,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and with both bands, it was, if somebody in the band doesn't like it, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure out why. What is it about this that seems like okay to me, but is irritating that person? Like in Kansas, especially, they would say, "Okay, you do one of those things, you know, like you do, and we go from here to there, okay?"
Yeah.
I'll say, "Okay, tomorrow I'll bring it in." And so I
Just
go
one
work.
of those iconic Kansas things, you know?
Yeah,
Can you
just-
do one of those, please, right here in this 1 minute, 14 seconds mark?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he was basically calling for, you know, something orchestral, melodic that would stick with you, but would be majestic and reminiscent of the you know, the glory days of Carey's writing. And Carey's a brilliant writer. Yeah, that was a tall
Is there
order.
like an example of that you can recall where that makes sense?
A short one was in All I Wanted, a tune that Steve Walsh already had. This could be a ballad, you know, that we could do as a single, but it's too straight. And I said, yeah, we can make it less straight. He said, all right, do it.
I have an idea.
The payoff thing is an instrumental, originally written for violin, but we ended up doing it. Something that I really rely on, and that's my quick edit. Listen, and as I'm showing the parts, this sounds corny going to this thing. I need to have it land on the 4 chord and not so obvious of a cadence. And in order to do that, I got to hold the 4 chord for another bar and a half. I need something moving there. Yeah, can you do that on the left hand? Yeah, all right, cool. I'm going to harmonize that, and then we'll go back to that melody. You know, all you can do is rely on your instincts and the judge and personal trainer you have right there on your shoulder.
Sometimes that judge and personal trainer is telling you evil things, and sometimes it's telling you massive praise and clouding your mind potentially.
There's technical practice, there's stretching, there's left hand strength, right hand strength, and I've got this condition that have developed from 50 years of playing like this.
Right. Yeah, I've been familiar with
Yeah,
that
okay.
situation. That warm-up time can actually put you in a position to succeed with whatever it is you're about to do.
Yeah, and
in my opinion.
I absolutely have to. We did some shows with Dream Theater. One thing I love seeing is how John Petrucci will just sit down and do a warm-up no matter what. Even if you're talking to him, he's going to keep on. He's got a metronome going, he's going to build it up. And then when he goes up on stage, it's like, and no problem. And of course, he keeps getting better with his musical ideas and everything too. So he's blown me away with the level that he's been able to keep that alternate picking and even incorporating some hybrid things just to serve the music. That's as high of a level as I've seen of somebody preparing for a gig.
He's been on my channel telling me that you're his favorite guitar player. I'm sure he's told you that to your face, but...
Yeah, we just did a thing where I got to hear him play with Dave LaRue, our bass player, and of course Mike Portnoy. Mike Portnoy of Flying Colors. Oh yeah, he was also in Dream Theater.
He's also in some other stuff.
A few other bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows.
Flying Colors Mike Portnoy is the best Mike Portnoy. Everybody knows that.
So anyway, yeah, just as a 3-piece, he was just absolutely
Which is sort of
nailing
like
this.
any trio situation. Jared, the host buddy who's not with us right now, he's off traveling in New Jersey actually. Guitar, bass, drums. Greg Koch, another guest of the podcast trio. You've added a 4th guitar, or a 4th member, but trio for so long.
Yeah.
And a little bit scary as a guitar player, especially with Petrucci's music.
Oh yeah, well, your arrangement has to fit a trio, first of all. And then the next thing is, if you're not doing singing, you've lost that whole ability to, well, I woke up this morning, got out of bed, and the traditional call and answer thing.
Right.
How are you going to do that as a trio? Well, one way is you get Dave LaRue to play some of the melodies and parts on bass, and I read a lot of counterpoint. You write to the strengths of what you have. If your bass player is good at doing this, they say, okay, all right, if that's the level that this guy can do and no more.
So what would you do if I'm the bass player?
I would say, okay, let's break it up. Let's try that. Okay, if you can't make that, then see if you can snag it with your finger that you're not picking. Are you a pick bass player or are you a finger bass player?
Oh yeah, I might be one of those weird hybrid guys.
Okay. Everybody, technique-wise, can go. Something like that. There's nothing to it technically. It's a way of breaking out of that bop, 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 bop.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Now we need a new section right there, but that's cool.
If you raise your level of expectation to, let's have some intricacies that are planned, that are good, and let's have them matter. Let's, down to your, I want it, that's different, It's different, but it's more expressive. It's slightly different, but those little slight things add up to, the voice and emotion of the melody. So especially with the melody, then the little details matter.
Yeah, melody making, sort of the ultimate villain of a guitar player.
In the early days, Amboy Dukes was one of the bands near where I lived in Michigan as a kid. And Ted Nugent was one of the earliest influences of somebody I knew of that played in phrases. Like that was one of the solos from the Amboy Dukes. Every 2 bars there was a pause of some kind. There was a regularity and predictability about the phrasing that made it easy to latch onto, even though that was a solo. So that was my first sort of introduction into that as a concept. And of course, you'd hear lots of guys jamming on blues where they're those, over and over and over.
Right.
When you do whatever with phrasing, it becomes a lot easier to present to people, I think, and a lot easier for people to accept it and say, yeah, okay, that's cool.
So the whole just guitar wank session, if it ends in one cool little moment like that, it's like, oh, we can take that.
That was begat by simply experimenting, but trying to make music together, with a simple thing. We did the give and take. Lucky accidents happen, Bad accidents happen too, but you don't have to keep those.
You just drive right by
Yeah,
those.
exactly. Drive right by. Keep up your speed
Yes,
and
yes,
no
yes.
rubberneck.
Don't look back. So what are some other compositional techniques that you might try now that we have that obvious foundation of like band interaction, songwriting? What other approaches that you might find with music theory?
Music theory helps you find options. Say if I want to harmonize a melody, right away I can do parallel harmony by simply starting on a different note of the mode or scale that the melody's in. That's a no-brainer. That's where, you know, theory is the most helpful in analyzing and saying, what is this? This is the sequence. We've got a 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. Okay, I see that as a pattern. That can help you, but the bottom line is your ears are going to decide what works and what doesn't. So I have 4 different ways that I write. One is with, you know, where you're doing everything on the guitar. You know, just by. Like that where I'm describing
Beautiful.
a melody and with accompaniment, but playing one note at a time. Another way would be where I might put down a part, make a little loop with a machine of some kind, play along with the loop as if it's somebody, a willing accomplice,
Yeah.
play
this A chord forever.
That gives you the opportunity to experiment indefinitely without having to take into consideration the other person's getting tired of playing that.
Yeah.
I like having that option, especially with complicated lines. Sometimes I want to harmonize something, but I don't want it to be traditional parallel harmony. And I want to find a line that sometimes turns out to be a second melody that goes along with it. And to those kind of things, you have to search and keep trying and kind of play with your eyes closed and listen. So there's that technique where you use the machine. On piano, you can play left and right hand slowly, but hear the harmony all the way through. You don't have to imagine it. You know, from playing a classical guitar, like I write pieces on the classical guitar where it's kind of complete, and then it's real easy to add violin or bass and do some other lines to make a duet out of it. Doing it in your mind, where, you know, that's the way the old school composers did. They ended up relying, I think, this is my analysis, disclaimer.
All right.
That they ended up relying on certain techniques, just like guitarists do, have styles that they play and patterns that they play.
Okay.
They ended up doing patterns in their writing, and possibly could have been paid by the bar. You know, like you do this many bars of music, you get this many pennies, as opposed to Spotify.
Yeah, yeah.
We've
now, you're going to hate it in the 21st century. We get fractions of pennies now. Yeah. Well, I want to move on to a little segment here.
That's so cool. You did homework.
I absolutely did. So, can you explain what that riff means to you on, what day is today? October 11th, 2025.
Yeah.
Do you see the riff the same way that I see it, is my first question, as far as just the cult thing that it is?
The first thing I showed to my son when he finally expressed interest in guitar, I think it was like a ukulele or something, or we had gotten somebody giving me a balalaika somewhere on our tour, and he was with me in Greece or something.
Oh yeah, that Greek,
said,
like bouzouki.
Yeah,
kind of thing?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The triangular shaped thing. And so I said, "Here, play this," and it was great to have something that is rhythmic, but simple enough to play.
Yeah.
And for me, the riff was really hit home. That's fine. But when you add in the bass part, is
so there's
really,
a bend. That's a bend right there.
Yeah.
Right here.
No. I do.
Okay,
I do it
okay,
wrong.
because
I do it wrong.
Well,
I
no,
do
but
it-
you were in Deep Purple, so I think
Yeah.
you could do it however you like.
Yeah, but I also developed a hatred class of about 30% of the audience.
Please, if you don't have haters, you're not doing it right. But I also think that
I must have been really good at doing it right.
yes, exactly. But is it controversial to say that I prefer your kind of more fluid, legato, kind of gnarly version? I don't know. Updates it, modernizes it, Steve Morsifies it. I dig it.
Cool, thank you. But Dweezil insists it was done.
Is that right? So Dweezil Zappa thinks it's up there?
And through his rig, it sounded really close.
Dead on.
Yeah, so I said, and he's a very discerning guy with his ears and everything, very intelligent, great musician. So I said that's hard to argue, Dweezil. It
Yeah.
really sounds authentic.
Let's move on to this next video here.
We flew to Montreux to do the jazz festival. We had no idea what we were going to find in way of reception.
I think that was 1978.
We thought it was going to be like jazz guys, with berets and going, what is this stuff? But it was a European audience that just wanted to be entertained. And festivals happen all the time in Europe, and people bring their families. It's very inclusive, very open-minded.
Raises the hair on the back of your neck when you hear the people screaming for you. The guitar tone, in particular in that clip, what's the deal there? Because I don't necessarily associate clean, humbucking sounds with that kind of playing. It's normally a single coil or like Telecaster.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so cool. Like, did you realize that, like, I'm gonna do my thing?
Yeah, I'm doing my thing, because the Nashville guys do the real thing better than I could ever do.
As you hear that sort of style delivered, honestly, like we were talking about with the accents.
Yeah.
That was somebody speaking Spanish with a German accent. Just a very interesting dichotomy there with the tone versus the licks and the bluegrass kind of style.
That's a good description, the dichotomy. Exactly. I wanted the bluegrass energy. I wanted the semi-chromatic things in there, and I wanted my style all at the same time. And and I was a young guy with plenty of adrenaline for the one take of our live album.
That was
with rented equipment,
nailed it to the wall. Awesome. All right, we got another one here.
We had two eras of the band that when I was with them. First of all, it happened by accident. I was sitting next to Phil Ehart. We were guests of the promoter watching a Robert Plant concert. Hey, Phil, how you doing, man? They had moved to Atlanta. The Dregs moved from Augusta, Georgia to Atlanta, Georgia. We would see each other at gigs, and we were friends, and like Steve Walsh had helped us with an album. Yeah, we're putting the band back together. It's Phil. We're putting the band back together, and Walsh is coming back. And Steve Walsh quit the band at their peak. He'd left, and the band it went on and had lots of versions and had a great replacement singer, but it was never the same. So, and then the band had kind of broken up. So putting the band back together with Steve, I said, awesome, that's great. I can't wait to hear it. I'm a Kansas fan, so what kind of stuff? Is Kerry giving you any stuff? I said, no, Kerry's not doing it. So we need some ideas. If you got any song ideas? Have I got song ideas? Well, yeah. How many do you want? And they said, well, we're getting together. Come on over to my house. So we were in the basement of his house, which was a daylight basement. In Georgia, they do that a lot.
Yes,
they do it in Tennessee, in the hilly areas. We all loaded in there, and so I started, with an idea, and Steve Walsh was on keyboards, and we were trading ideas back and forth, and we came up with a tune, and everybody was on board with it. So, you want to do that? We're getting together next Tuesday. You want to come back? Yeah, okay. And it happened to be where my band wasn't doing anything. We thought we'd played it out because our agent was like, you can never get to Europe. You've never sold enough records. You'll never get there.
Supportive agent.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
you'll never succeed. Anyway, I need your 20%.
Yeah, it was a percent. It was a significant percent.
It was enough.
And we did it. End up going to Europe with no guarantee with my trio. We went there, and played for the door at places. And it worked. It worked great. It worked fantastic. That's when I said,
Did you ever
wait
follow
a
up with that agent?
Or
no.
no.
Let your accolades do the talking.
No,
It's the best way.
The audience is incredible in Europe.
Yeah.
All they want to do is hear music of variety. They want authentic American artists playing from the heart of any kind. They're extremely tolerant audience. So anyway, I'm digressing. Okay, so we did more songs, and it was very organic. By the end of it, we're going to record this stuff. You want to record it with? Well, sure. Where are you going? And all right, cool. Let's do it. Then it's like, well, we're getting offers for a tour. You want to go on? What? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. We organically came together as that band. Yeah. And then the second album, it was some time had passed, and we'd done a bunch of gigs, and now there was MTV really pushing this. You have to be a video star, and then VH1 saying you have to be a soft rock video star.
So MTV was hard rock, VH1 was soft rock, would you say? Or?
Yeah, or not hard rock, but pop rock.
Pop rock, okay,
Yeah.
got you.
There was not as much hard rock. There was a heavy pressure to come up with a hit single, and that was tough for me as a writer, because I went to LA. We wrote with people and exchanged ideas and everything, and we came up with some stuff that was on the next album, this In the Spirit of Things. And Bob Ezrin was very helpful with, being the producer and kind of guiding us along. The first album, though, was us as a band coming together naturally, and the second one was, now there's pressure. We need to fit in this mold or that mold.
Oh.
But all this other stuff, well, do it if you have to. There was not as much opportunity to be organic, and that got to me personally as I started to realize, I see Kansas as this orchestral, big anthemic, but they'd already, now part of their success came from Dust in the Wind. They could do that, but it wasn't the vision that I had of being in the band. And so I ended up bowing out after we did the album and the tour. But that's why there's two different kind of genesis of the band.
It seems like you followed your instinct each time, where it's like, all right, this isn't, maybe you have to let it wane on as you transition to the next phase. Foresight that you have to have, I really respect that, because a lot of people will just stick in one spot and be like, well, this is working for me. Yeah. So you have to be really confident and be like, well, it's going to be all right. But it can be really scary.
Well, for the most part, I've done that, and possibly with Purple, I stayed too long. The artistic guy who's no, I want it this way, his voice has always been louder than the reasonable guy who says, you're going to be on the cover of Career Suicide magazine. And I've been on the cover of that like 5 times.
Oh, so. That was you on there? I think I was on there once. I don't know. No. It was a misprint.
No, they said there's a limit to how many times you can be on the cover. That's the only reason. They look for me for, Morse is doing this. Oh, that's going to be a great cover. Let's get somebody else to.
I wonder what your favorite moment of this upcoming tour is going to be. Because you've only done 2 shows, right?
Yeah.
Nashville was last night, and you have about 3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to on this run with the Steve Morse Band?
Well, actually, the most fun was playing through the stuff for the first time with Angel, playing some of the guitar parts on songs that we couldn't do live because I had, specifically a 2 guitar section in there that didn't sound right doing it as a trio. And 2 of the songs on the album are duets, one with Eric Johnson and the other with John Petrucci.
He mentioned that to me. He's like, no big deal.
Yeah, I said, all you got to do, Angel, is play in the style of Eric Johnson and then John Petrucci. Is that so much to ask?
It's easy.
He's so talented and incredibly versatile. I actually suggested him for that role because I worked with him when he was doing a video for New Country, a Jean-Luc Ponty tune from the 70s.
Awesome.
And so here's this younger guy reaching out, like saying, how can I broaden the horizons? I mean, I don't know if that's what he was saying to himself, but to me, it looked like, all right, I've got this metal thing down. I can do all this shredding stuff. Now, what's next? Instead of this is comfortable, this is working for me, like you were saying. He's looking to spread out. So that's why I thought this is really good. And then while we were doing the video, we're playing along to the recording, but everybody's playing and plugged into amps. And I'm noticing everybody's making all the parts. They're making it perfectly.
Yeah, that is actually very rare for a music video shoot for you to actually be. Yeah, he's multi-talented, so the band is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And
So just running through it right before we went out, everybody got together in the same room at the same time, and hearing that, I was smiling and saying, "This is cool." Hearing it for the first time is something that's already happened. So now I'm looking forward to everybody knowing each other and giving those little fine points of detail that bring it up to the next level.
what kind of band leader are you?
I've morphed from the evil taskmaster. As a young man, I was really intolerant. If somebody showed up and I wrote out a chart or I made a cassette tape for them or whatever, and they didn't know that, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
And I'd be justifiably pissed. This is a fuck up. What are you doing?
Yeah.
We're trying to do something here. Yeah, and when you're 15 minutes late, there's 4 of us here waiting. That's 4 times 15 is 60 minutes. That's 1 man hour wasted of the band's time because of you. Why? You had a flat tire? No, I don't believe you had a flat tire, and it would only made you 15 minutes late.
You would have been way later.
Yeah, stuff like that. So I morphed from that to the more mellow. I've been through so much. I've been pummeled from being the guy that replaced Richie Blackmore, or the guy that replaced Kerry Livgren, and been pummeled with that, and to where I've got more of a thick exterior callus.
That's all over and done with, right? Yeah. Like at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, good. How do you feel about When the Levee Breaks, that song by Led Zeppelin? You know that one?
I know the title. I know the Led Zeppelin riffs, but which one is that?
And then this part, the bass is going. Want to hear the track and see if you want to?
That's okay. Well, I'll wing it.
You
I'm used to doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's cool. You took a different approach for everyone. That was really neat.
That was so awesome, man. What an honor.
I love the way you really relaxed but broke up the time.
Bouncing off people, I get to learn so much hanging out with
Yeah,
people
you went
like
for
you.
the tone control thing. That's all.
Oh yeah, dude, I couldn't quite get it, but I'm gonna work on it.
335.
This is not the setup that I'm looking for.
It's not the setup.
Any other plugs that you'd like to get the word out to everybody
we
about?
got a new album called Triangulation. The tour's starting now, but or the first leg of the tour, and so the album's come out November 14th, and we got you know, some videos that are, we did one already called Breakthrough, and got the other two are the duets with Eric Johnson and John Petrucci. Although in the video, I'm not sure what the video is going to be of, because I didn't, you know.
Get them in on Zoom or something.
I don't know if I have the heart to.
Yeah.
Because with your friends, sometimes when you ask something,
Yeah.
they feel like obliged to do it. So if I ask them to do a video, man, I don't know. After doing the song and everything, it's a little bit much.
You don't have to ask them. Maybe they'll see this. And Steve didn't ask anything of you.
One of the longest pieces we've ever done, almost 11 minutes long, and it's called Too Many Parts. I had a very busy technical piece that I did a few decades ago called Too Many Notes, where you know,
I know that one.
Yeah, okay. Well, this one is called Too Many Parts because there's lots of parts.
Well, I wish you all the success on that, and depending on when you see this video, the album could be out, because as we know with the internet, people find things at various points in time.
Yes.
So all the links will be in the description, and just true honor, man.
Same here, man. You are a surprising guy with all these hidden talents and obvious talents.
I'm doing my best Angel Vivaldi impression.
Yeah, I like that. I like when people have depth. Yeah, and you when we were just jamming, you're doing every take different, and I love that.
Yeah.
That's real jamming, you know. Well, you got it, man.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.